Europe's ruthless barbarians. When history had no chilled, naked truth documentaries. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Europe before manners were invented, before forks, before deodorant, before customer service. This was a time when people solved problems with axes, fire, and yelling very loudly in languages nobody else understood. Today on Naked Truth Documentaries, we're ripping the toga off ancient history to reveal the ruthless, misunderstood, and absolutely savage European tribes, the Romans, politely called barbarians, which basically meant people who didn't speak Latin and refused to pay taxes. Now hit like, sharpen your sword, and subscribe, because history is about to get naked. What does barbarian really mean? The word barbarian didn't originally mean evil monster. It meant blah blah blah. Seriously, to the Romans, foreign languages sounded like barbar. So they said, yeah, those guys are barbarians. That's right, entire civilizations were roasted because Romans couldn't understand their accents. But don't get it twisted. These tribes were not weak. They were organized, dangerous, stylishly violent, and very allergic to Roman rules. The Goths, the original empire breakers. Let's start with the Goths, the people who made Rome realize it wasn't as immortal as it thought. The Visigoths and Ostrogoths were like, nice empire you've got there. Would be a shame if someone sacked it. In 410 AD, the Visigoths walked into Rome and looted it like a Black Friday sale with swords. Romans cried. Statues fell. Civilization panicked. This was the ancient version of breaking the internet. And the funniest part, the Goths didn't even want to destroy Rome at first. They wanted land, food, and fair treatment. Rome said no. The Goths said, cool. Violence it is. The Vandals, so bad they became a word. Next, up the Vandals. Yes, those Vandals. The reason why smashing bus stops and spray painting walls is called vandalism. These guys traveled from Northern Europe all the way to North Africa, conquered territory, built a navy, and then casually sailed to Rome and robbed it for 2 weeks straight. 2 weeks, imagine thieves, so committed they bring snacks. Were they wild? Yes. Were they strategic? Absolutely. Were they misunderstood? Definitely. But their PR was so bad that 1,500 years later, their name still means trouble. That's a legacy. The Huns. When Attila entered the chat. Now let's talk about the Huns' history's greatest jump scare. When the Huns showed up, everyone else panicked. These were horse-riding, bow-shooting, lightning-fast warriors who looked like they were born in the saddle and raised by chaos. And leading them, Attila the Hunter man so feared that people said grass wouldn't grow where his horse stepped. That's not a warrior, that's a walking horror movie. Attila didn't need walls. He didn't need permission. He just showed up, demanded tribute, and if you refused, well, let's just say your city became a memory. Romans called him the scourge of God. Attila probably called himself efficient. The Celts, artistic, spiritual, and terrifying. The Celts were not just fighters, they were poets, artists, musicians, who also occasionally charged into battle, half-naked, while screaming at the gods. Yes, half-naked. Celtic warriors believed bravery mattered more than armor. Their enemies believed pants were important. Guess who history remembers? They painted themselves with blue dye, wore torques around their necks, and fought with style. Roman soldiers wrote that Celts were loud, emotional, fearless, and impossible to intimidate. Basically, the Celts were ancient rock stars with swords. The Franks, from barbarians to bosses. The Franks started as fierce tribal warriors and ended up founding what would become France. That right today, fine wine and fashion, came from people who once solved disputes with throwing axes. Their leader, Clovis, pulled off the ultimate power move. He converted to Christianity, teamed up with the church, and went from barbarian warlord to divinely approved king. Lesson of the day. Never underestimate a warrior who knows how to rebrand. Were they really ruthless? Here's the naked truth. These tribes weren't more brutal than Rome. Rome crucified people. Rome enslaved millions. Rome fed humans to lions for entertainment. The difference? Rome had better PR and wrote the history books. The so-called barbarians fought for land, survival, honor, and freedom. They had laws, families, traditions, and values. They weren't savages. They were competitors in a violent world. History didn't belong to the most civilized. It belonged to the most adaptable. Why this story still matters, TODAY. Modern Europe was built on the bones of these tribes. Languages, borders, cultures, and nations all trace back to these so-called barbarians. They didn't just destroy Rome, they replaced it. So next time someone calls something barbaric, remember, those barbarians shaped the world you're living in right now. Final word from Naked Truth Documentaries. History isn't clean, it isn't polite, and it definitely isn't boring when you tell it right. If you enjoyed this raw, funny, no filters dive into Europe's ruthless tribes, smash that like button like a Viking raid. Subscribe for more untold history, and share this with someone who still thinks barbarians were just dumb cavemen. This is Naked Truth Documentaries, where history drops on.